this is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for Avoid the Maze. And my guest today is Sandy Jo Weston. I love the full name. It just adds so much more credibility to who you are. But when you read her bio in the show notes, you'll understand one of the main reasons I wanted to have her on. And that is because so many of us want to look good, feel good, and get results. And, Sandy, I can't tell you how many times I've started off at the gym and, I'm really good and I'm there for a week, 3 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. And yes, I'm stronger, but the results that I want when I look in the mirror, just aren't there. But yet, when I was in my 20s, I could work out and within days, you could see the difference. So help me along here because, I know I'm not going to have the body of a 20-year-old, but I'd like to have something that's just a little bit more put together.
Well, Karen, that is such a big question. And let me try to unpack it because I hear it all the time. And as you know, I've been in the fitness industry my entire life, owning and operating health clubs. So I've seen it all. I've done it all. I've worked with so many clients with all different body types. But here's the number one thing that we touched on when we were chatting at the beginning. It really is your mindset. A lot of it is mindset. So my entire life, I've always said fitness was just my vehicle for spreading joy. Just so happens it's my middle name, so that works out. But it really was about the mental fitness component because I knew if I could get people in that powerful state of mind, they would all get the results they wanted. I never could figure out till years later, Karen, when I would study it with I called them the powers to be, and I gathered everybody from every walk of life to say, is there scientific proof to what I believe? And we're talking neuroscientists, exercise physiologists, because I wanted a thesis behind what my version of mental fitness was. And did it really matter the results of how much you really loved yourself and really enjoyed where you are now? And it does. Because whether you're 20 and you get results instantly, or you're 60 and it takes longer, it's all about you looking in the mirror and liking what you got going on here. And then whatever results, maybe not as quickly, will come. And here's the big thing. You can look pretty damn good in your whatever age, barring that there's something else going on genetically, but how much is it worth it? Do you really want to be in the gym 2 hours a day and eating really clean? And if so, you're not going to look like you're in 20s, but you're going to look unbelievable. It's just a matter of how much do you want it? And a lot for us is how we eat, especially after 35. It's really how you eat. And then I say, be really honest with yourself, because if you really are willing to eat that clean, you probably can look a lot better than, you right now, how you are. But is it worth that to you? You know what I mean? Like loving who you are, embracing who you are, waking up every day and looking in the mirror and say, I feel mentally and physically good. That's the most important thing. Most important thing.
And I'm glad you said that, because so many of us, we get pulled in with the commercials. Yeah. We get pulled in by other people who we think are judging us. I just went through a positive intelligence course and I realized I'm the biggest judge of myself. Okay. And so every time I think, okay, I've got to make this change. Okay? I have to lose 10 pounds. So what is eating clean? Well, sometimes that's fairly easy and I can do it in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it gets a little bit boring for me. And so I'm just going to change it up this much. And that like stops and plateaus me for a while because you know what? You added something that is not as good for you
Yeah.
if you want to get those results. And it's
Yes. Yeah.
taken me a long time to finally say, okay, that person in the mirror is who I am.
Yeah.
Like you said, do I like her or not?
Yeah.
And it started with the mental intelligence because if you're judging yourself, like I probably did for the first 60 years of my life, I would
Yeah.
stand in front of the mirror and say, I don't like my hair this way. And then I'd make an appointment to go get it cut or colored or whatever. And I liked it for a day. But when I looked in the mirror
Yeah.
again, it was still me.
Yeah.
So I had to
Yeah.
make those changes.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to go into a business where you had to make sure that you were taking care of yourself
Mm.
24/7?
I didn't think of it that way. I always have been about how can I create as much joy for others? I saw severe suffering in my personal life. Like I grew up in the projects, not so bad, but my mom spent like 50% of her life in mental institutions, and I used to go visit them. And I thought so bad for people with mental health issues. And there are many that I couldn't help. But there are others that even in a moment, Karen, I could create joy for them. So I would, even as a little kid, I would bring my tap shoes to the mental institution and entertain them. Some of it was for them, others was because it made me feel better.
Right.
But I saw like that, how you could shift someone's energy and create a positive force. And so I made it my life's purpose to create joy, whatever it was. So it landed me in the health club industry because I was a dance major, but it was never, ever, I thought I was an entrepreneur. I was here to entertain and dance and bring a smile to everyone's face. That led me to teaching classes where people asked me to train them in their home, which I was on the main line of Philadelphia suburbs, which led me to all these people in Philly that wanted to help me, which then opened my first gym, and then it went on and on. But I never thought I had to look amazing. I thought I had to serve you and whatever, because I wasn't always thin. I mean, I wasn't heavy, but they used to say, man, she can move, but she's built like a truck driver. So, I was 25 pounds overweight for them. For me, Karen, I thought I had it going on. I was like, what do you mean? Baby got back. I felt great. Like I always had this gift to look in the mirror and go, yeah, you're good. And I had purple acne. I had like the worst acne anyone had. But for some reason, I just conditioned myself. I love you who you are, and this is what it is, and I wanted everyone to have that.
Well, and you were named perfectly because your name sort of like said, yeah, I'm going to enjoy. Exactly.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family where my parents were not judgmental of anyone. And my father would wake up in the morning and stand in front of the mirror. And this is how he woke us up all. He would say, hey, handsome, have a great day. And my brothers and I, we'd hear that we were upstairs and we'd go, oh, there he goes again. Like, you're not supposed to pat yourself on the shoulder. You're not supposed to say those things. And so we, one by one would come downstairs and say, yeah, I guess you're handsome. And he'd go, well, look in the mirror. Don't you want to see what pretty is? In the mirror in the morning with sleepers in my eyes and whatever.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to see it. But that was what he would tell us all the time. And he told my mother 24/7 how beautiful she was. Even when, and my mother was one of these that was always on a yo-yo diet. So she was thin today and 40 pounds heavier the next day.
Yeah.
but it never changed how the dialogue went in the house.
Mm.
And sadly, I got into a situation where I was married to somebody who always told me I was fat, I was ugly, I was
Oh my
stupid.
God.
And so I believed it. I mean, if somebody loves you, aren't they going to tell you the truth? And I
Mm,
tried so hard to change those things that they weren't changing until we split up and we got divorced.
mm,
And then I was hearing other people saying to me that I was smart. How did you figure that out? Oh, your hair is pretty. Oh, then it was like, well, I don't need all the compliments, but I need to know now how to take care of myself so I can look in the mirror and like who I
mm.
see.
Yeah,
I didn't
absolutely.
do it the same way you did, but so you said that you were 25 pounds heavier,
Mhm.
built like a truck driver, although I just can't picture that, but okay. Um,
Yeah.
what what was the transformation for you to say, or did you say, "Hey, I wanna slim down a little bit"?
You know, by the way, I did not know they said that about me. My friends who were like
It's your
clients back
phrases.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, told me, "Yeah, we used to say you were built like a truck driver, but you can move." I'm like, "Okay." Uh, there was a defining moment. I remember it. I guess I was in my 30s. And one of the big coaches for the local colleges came by and said, "You know, I would hire you to teach aerobics to my football team, but not like that. You need to drop 25 pounds." I go, "Excuse me?" He goes, "Yeah, you can't be coming to look like that." I go, "What?" He's like, "You need to drop 25 pounds." Now, I know what you're going to say is like, okay, the guy was a jerk, and he was. But I said, "Well, I'm just built like this. I work out all the time. I eat healthy. Like, this is just me." And he says, "No." Well, I didn't really want the job now, but it was a challenge. I like challenges, like, "Ooh, this will be fun. I could change my body. Let's see if I can change my body." And what I started doing is exactly what I do now every day with every single one of my clients. I train them to look in the mirror and see what they love and envision what they want. So I started looking in the mirror and saying, "Wow, I really like my abs. Wow, I have a nice smile." Like, really changing the energy to come from love and joy and peace. And then I'd say, "Oh, wouldn't it be awesome if my legs look like this?" Instead of criticizing myself, it was all, "Well, it'd be great if I could get in more jeans and my butt, that would be really cool." And then I would start journaling and saying, "What should I do to get there?" Like, I don't want to have to get there. Let it just be fun. And what can come my way? Well, for me, I started back then, they didn't really say weight train for weight loss for women,
Right.
but I started weight training heavy. We're talking heavy. And just tweaking some of the ways I ate. And boy, oh boy, it just came off me. And to this day, and I'm 63, if I train heavy with weights, that is what my body responds to, besides the cardio. So everyone has their thing. And I had injured my neck and I wasn't able to do the weights. And you could see I still looked good. I was happy again. I had my butt, but I wasn't able to do what I know works for me. And so my body changed again and I gained 20 or 25 pounds. But then once I could get back to
Went
the
back
weight
to
training again, it's important to do cardio and weight training and eat healthy, but my body really responds. And you can see I'm a tiny girl. It's not like the weights
right.
put on thighs, they just define me. But that was for me a defining moment in, if you want it because you just think it'll be fun and coming from a place that you already love what you have now, it's amazing no matter what age is possible. And it really opened my eyes to what people were capable coming from that mindset. And even to this, I'll say to people, they're like, "No, I can't look in the mirror. I don't love myself." I'm like, Okay, let's start with, do you like your nose? Do you like your hair? Maybe you don't like your body. We got to get an appreciation and gratitude. Do you feel healthy? Can you run? And then we can shift and get results.
And I love that, because one of my coaches had said to me a couple months ago, I was coming off a medication that had just totally blew me up. And every time I did a podcast, all I could see was my face all blown up.
Yeah.
And she said to me, I know it's bothering you. She said, because you've mentioned it a couple times. She said, don't mention it. Don't say it out loud. But when you're doing your podcast, look at yourself or in the mirror and, like you just said, what is it that I like about that face? Don't say you don't like the fact that you're puffed up. What do you see? And when I started doing that, it was like I didn't see it anymore. Well, then they weaned me off the medication. And all of a sudden, one day I'm doing a podcast with somebody, and I notice that my face did not take up the whole screen. And I said something out loud like, oh my God, what happened to me? And the other person said, Karen, are you okay? And we worked it into the podcast that here I haven't been feeling great about myself until somebody said, there's something in that puffiness that you do like.
Yeah.
And I found it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
And listen, many, I'm going to say not some, many of the most physically beautiful people, that women in their 50s and 60s, whatever, who have incredible bodies and incredible skin, they don't think so. They don't think so. I mean, I have a few clients that if you looked at, you're like, oh my God, they're in their 50s. I mean, they're built like brick houses. Yet they'll come out and say, oh, I can't eat that. I'm feeling really, fat today. And I'm thinking that would be worse.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? And I get it, but that's why and it's not easy. Let's put it this way. I tell people, whatever your thoughts are, whatever they are, they're not good or bad, right? They're not right or wrong. They either serve you well or they don't serve you well. So listen to your thoughts about anything. Okay, don't judge them. It's all right. I'm thinking that. Let them pass. But how could you shift that thought just a little to serve you well? Because there is no downside to feeling great now, even before you achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. And if the worst case scenario, I said to my client, ooh, so you're going to feel more pure joy without losing any weight or whatever, fire me. That's the whole idea. And then I promise you, you'll figure out, what am I really willing to do to get there? And a lot of times it's going to be different, because you're like, wait a minute, I don't really do all that at this stage of the game. I know I don't do the same things I did in my 20s. I don't want to.
Exactly.
I don't want to.
So if you're on social media, you get all these messages, which I'm sure all your clients are getting. When they look at something and it says, oh, you take, a sip of this every night before you go to sleep, and you're going to melt away 5 pounds. Or take these gummies and you're going to feel satisfied and, can lose 50 pounds in 3 months. We all know that is advertising to get you to buy an item. Why is our industry so set on not teaching us that if you love yourself, you're going to take care of yourself? And that's what you're talking about.
Well, that's an easy answer, because their main purpose is to make money. And even, Karen, the most brilliant, wise human being will fall prey, whether consciously or subconsciously, to those ads because you want to believe in that magic pill. And I know this because there will be people, even though they know I'm against all that, who forget if it works or not works, what it does to your body long term. And it's always just short-term result. They don't care, and they're desperate, and they're just looking for a quick fix. I just had a woman who, I mean, this woman is a scholar. I mean, she travels all over the world speaking about mental health. And yet she sent me a picture of a yogi who she's in her 20s. And she said, I signed up for this yoga course that costs $2,000 a month because I want that butt. Okay. Well, that woman is 24. You're 68. How could you think that but that's the marketing. You will have this body, $2,000 a month.
Wow.
And then I realized it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you know. It really is a matter of, I just want to believe it and I want a quick fix and I don't know what else to do. Now, most times, Karen, a lot of it, which we were talking about, besides liking who you are now, it's all an emotional component, because forget working out. Why we eat, unless it's just to serve our body and really, fuel the soul, there's something else going on. And so in order for, I won't take on a client, they just say, put me on time. No, because you got to do the work. Why are you eating? When are you eating? And it's not difficult, but when you uncover that, then you're going to get lasting results. Because now you're going, okay, I eat when I do this. This is when I eat. You're going to figure out there's not wrong or right. They're just patterns. And it takes a while to undo those patterns. Like if you always eat late at night, you always eat when you're anxious, you always eat, to sell whatever or drink. And I tell people, don't get angry. Don't make a big hairy deal of it. Just let's look at the patterns of why you are eating. And then we can break it down and start shifting them. But that means you have to do some work on yourself. And the marketing and advertising companies know that it's easier for you to just take this solution and not have to do that. And it makes tons and tons, billions of dollars, because people yo-yo all the time. And I know it. I can see the people, I can almost spot them a mile away, and I won't take those clients. Like I say, yeah, you're not ready, because you have to be ready to work on yourself. And then you can get the results.
Well, and I learned it by watching my mother, because my mother, like I think I said, was a yo-yo dieter.
Yeah.
What was the fad today? Oh, the cabbage soup diet. Yeah, did she lose a lot of weight on it? She surely did. But when she decided to start eating again, it all came back. I've never been a true dieter. When I say that, I've dropped things from my diet that I know are bad for me. And that's when I can lose the weight. Either I get sick, there's a family issue or whatever, and I get off track.
Yep.
And I stay off track until I finally say, well, wait a second. Well, what was it that I was doing before that, number one, I had more energy. Number two, I sort of liked the whole picture better rather than just saying, I like my hair today. And that's when, okay, like you said, it takes work. Number one, you have to think about it. You have to think about, is it something I want to do now?
Yeah.
Or do I want to do something different? Or do I just want to say, you know what? I'm happy the way I am. I'm going to continue on this way.
Good. Yeah. I'll tell you, I teach, not all my clients, but most of my clients, I say, all right, this is what I want you to do. Before you go for something that you think is not going to serve your body well, the whole body, mind, body, spirit, and get you where you said you want to go, because that's the important thing. Forget social media, forget your family. You said this is what you want to achieve. You want to walk at the door and be able to fit in these clothes, and that's what you want. Okay. So when you look at something, even if you paused for just a few seconds and said, is this going to, just these words, is this going to get me where I choose to go? Is this going to help me reach my goal? How am I going to feel after I eat this? And is it worth it? Now, there are going to be times that you say, yes, I want that glass of wine. I want that piece of cake at birthday. But most times, even pausing for a few seconds and saying, is this going to get me where I want to go? If so, go forth and conquer. That's a huge one, as well as they teach so many people to put it, out of sight, out of mind. And it's true. Like, even if you have kids,
Right.
put it way up high so your eyes don't see it. Those little things will create more positive habits without you beating yourself up. Because I say to people, it's not a matter you did something wrong. It's just that was your go-to. So when family situations occur in stressful situations, what we do is immediately go, well, I deserve that. I deserve that. But the truth is, you want this over here. You really want that. So just pausing for a second, say, no, that's not going to get me where I want to go. I want this. And then I tell people you have to have alternatives. Like, if you're always somebody that some people have to be putting something in their mouth all the time, there's plenty of options to give you something that you would like instead. Or my friends that were trying to cut back on the wine after the pandemic, I had them find fun, sparkly club sodas and put fruit on the top, or teas, so that they had fun things to sip. And you know what really worked? Putting it in the wine glass.
Right.
Like, some of them did the wine glass and then put the sparkling, sodas, club sodas with fancy fruit. They felt included, as well as teas. I mean, different things work for different people.
Well, and what you're saying is there are so many options, but you need to sort of create those options because you know
Correct.
yourself the best. And I know when my husband was first diagnosed diabetic, he said, no cookies in the house, no sugar in the house. And because of that, I got in the habit of eating cleaner like he was. Where I fell off the wagon was one day he said, my doctor said, I can have, a candy bar occasionally. I can have cookies occasionally. Well, what became occasionally became cookies were in the house and candies in the house. And the weird part about his disease is that if he has that candy bar or those cookies during the day, actually his blood sugar levels off. Doctor doesn't understand how, but the days when he's eating totally clean, his blood sugar spikes. I don't think he pays attention to exactly what's going on those days, but once he started bringing this stuff in, it started looking tempting. And so I had been off of sugar for 3-4 years, and now I started eating it again. And then I finally weigh myself and go, how did that happen?
Yeah.
But I knew, okay?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
knew all along. And so do I want to go back to that 100% off? No. So I have figured out other ways to do it, still eating clean, watching what I'm eating, but not being so obsessive about it that I'm going to go, ballistic if I step on the scale and I haven't lost any weight.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's not about the weight anymore. It's about me being able to say, I feel good about myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
I'm laughing because I was out to dinner at a pub, and a lot of times people will ask me, tell me what's the best way to lose weight. Or, hey, can you show me what's the best ab exercise to get flat abs? And, I'm out with my
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
But this one guy, and we were cracking up because we really don't see ourselves. So much of what we do is the guy sitting there goes, Sandy, I just can't, get those washboard abs I want. And he was in his 30s, not old, but he's eating cheese fries and a cheesesteak. And I call him Billy Bob. I'm like, Billy Bob, is this a joke? Like, you're eating cheese. He goes, well, I don't do this all the time. I go, yeah, I get it. Okay. You don't drink beer and have cheese, fries and cheesesteak. But if you want washboard abs, like, because he was already built, well,
Yeah.
that ain't happening with this. Like, it's just not. And it was like a light goes, no. I go, dude, you can't eat. He didn't want to see it. And I was cracking up. I go, this is it. We are just the most amazing, beautiful human beings. It was funny.
But you brought up Philly cheesesteaks, which you can only really get them in Philly, because if you go anywhere else and have them, they don't taste the same. So I lived there for 4 years, and every Friday night was Philly cheesesteaks. And
Oof, so
it was
good.
so wonderful. Who are your major clients? Are they the housewife down the street? Are they people who are big in the industry where everybody needs to see them, or is there not a typical client?
It's changed because I didn't have any clients individually for over 20 years because I owned and operated the health clubs. I stopped individual training people. I taught my classes. But then with the pandemic, people are like saying to me, Sandy, can't you, Virgil, come on, we got to do something. And I thought about it. And I didn't want to train people, meaning just their body. Like, I didn't want to do that because everything I teach, all my books, reels, it's all about train your head and your body will follow. So what I did is I developed it was like a 6-week course to get them in the right mindset, set the right goals, put them on the right path. And then after that, if they continue with me or not, but it was mostly mental fitness. And I thought, I wonder what kind of client is going to go for that, because not that I wouldn't give them workouts to do, but I wasn't going to be their trainer.
Right.
I would design the program for them because a lot of people older, they have so many different injuries and they think they're doing something for their body that's healthy. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to injure themselves. So I will create the program, but I wanted it to be more about the mental fitness. And guess what? Everybody wanted that. It was crazy. Everyone wanted that. They didn't want to say that. They would say, oh yeah, Sandy's my coach, but really they were bringing me in for the mental fitness component. Now, the difference is most people don't say that I'm their coach. It's very private. They don't want people. But the deal is, as far as who they are, I have young people in high school. I have moms and dads. I have CEOs and it's all over the place. But the big thing is they are ready to make a major change in their life because they know we're going deep. So even the parent that brings their high school kid, most kids wouldn't be ready for me, but the ones that are, not that they might see a therapist on the side too, but they're overwhelmed, anxious, and they don't know a way out. So I do a lot of the mental fitness. Sometimes it doesn't even involve the physical. Right. They already have the physical. And that's how it's shifted. But I've gotten a reputation of she only takes the kind of client that is not wanting a quick fix. and it's really amazing. So it's moms, dads, but the women will, but most of the men won't admit that they have me as a coach. It's crazy. Or they'll say she's my fitness coach, but I don't even work them out. That's okay. It doesn't matter.
And coaching is so popular. I mean, it's integrated into all of our lives. And a lot of us don't even realize, even if we haven't hired somebody as a coach, some of the people that we're listening to on our podcast are friends who are coaches.
Yeah.
Just those little things that they say. And all of a sudden, it's like, let me try that. In fact, 5 years ago, I met this woman who has been podcasting with us, and she's an attorney, but she's also a coach. And she was doing coaching for law offices in the beginning. Yeah. And she has expanded what she does. And just in the podcasts, I saw my life changing, my thoughts opening up, and realizing that, if you would have asked me in the beginning what my purpose was, I didn't really vocalize it because I didn't want people to laugh at me. I didn't want to say, this is my purpose, and tomorrow morning wake up and say, oh no, this is my purpose. And it took me a while. And once I started realizing that there are so many positive things in each of us, that if we just start sharing them. And so I blog them, I journal them, I talk about them in a podcast because it gets me stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why I think you're saying about these moms and dads. Now, men tend to want to be macho. So maybe those are the guys that won't admit.
Not all of them, but some of them, yeah. Or private. I get it, But you know what? I take on only a handful of individuals. My focus has really been, I do a lot of keynote speaking engagements and workshops and master classes at schools and colleges and corporations. So that's my main focus besides podcasts. But I do have some really fun clients that I love.
So how can my listeners find you and get to know you a little bit better and, maybe purchase a book? Because, hey, sometimes those books just give us that spark.
And some of my books are journals. So they're guided journals that take 1 minute to 3 minutes of things that you can do every day to get in a positive, powerful headspace. Matter of fact, my publisher asked me to make one for kids 6 to 12 over the pandemic. And so I sent it out to all my friends and they're using it. It didn't even get to the kids.
I love it.
They love that style. So I said, wait a minute, I'm going to create another version similar to that, make it towards the adults. But they can find everything on my website, Sandy Joy Weston. Weston is with an O-N. I'm on all social media platforms at Sandy Joy Weston. My books are in all bookstores, but also Amazon. And I usually go 4 days a week. I come up with a daily joy that I do for a minute, and I put it out on the platforms as well as my live and recorded podcast.
I love it. Well, you have been a delight. You've done some reinforcement for me today, which I think is really good because I came into the studio this morning thinking I had 2 other podcasts before you. I forgot that I had moved them. And here I am sitting in the office, and it's like, well, I can leave the office, but instead I got buried in work. And I was yawning until we started. So you woke me up. I think that's
good.
Wonderful.
I'm glad.
And so to all of our listeners, this information will be in the show notes. So there's no excuse not to find Sandy and maybe pick up one of these workbooks that, just might give you the spark that you need. And that spark doesn't necessarily mean changing a lot about yourself. It might just be one little thing that, hey, if I was more like this or more like that, let me try it. Thank you so much. You are
Thank you,
a
Karen.
joy. Have a great day.
All right. Bye, Karen.
Bye bye now.